So this is sort of like day 3 of the coronavirus, I don't know what we would call it, investigation. Just sort of walking around, seeing what's going on. And we see we got some more people wearing the masks. Same kind of deal as far as the level of crowd on the street. New York City is not under a mandatory lockdown today, but a lot of people still, self-isolating. I think a lot of people are very, very concerned about the virus. What I'm going to do now, a lot of people ask me what's going on the subway, and some will freak out now, but I'm going to ride the 4 train downtown to City Hall, and we'll see what the crowd on the subway looks like. And I'm going to walk over to Presbyterian Hospital, which is the hospital people might recall downtown where Jeffrey Epstein was allegedly brought on a gurney dead. And just want to see if there's been a huge influx of coronavirus patients. We've been hearing for several days how this is going to stress the medical infrastructure, and if too many people need hospital beds at the same time, that's going to be a crisis and a disaster. Obviously, right now, there seems to be a pretty real economic, that's a crisis of stupidity right there, but we've got a real economic crisis going on. And the solution today is to start giving out $1,000 to everybody. That just sounds like instant socialism to me. I don't know what that's going to solve. $1,000 today, they're talking about having everybody sort of out of business until August. So what's 300 million people times 1,000? Trillion something, who knows? People know. Huge number. Where is that money? And if we've got like a deficit, how do you suddenly come up with all these trillions? Obviously, we were talking with Jimmy and Joanne Moriarty last night, and Jimmy frequently has told us about fake money toilet paper. Jimmy always calls it the run on toilet paper. See, I think what has happened is they've hit a nerve. See, this concept of a virus, it defies xenophobia. If they say that Muslim pilots crashed airplanes into whatever, certain people will say, you can't say anything about that, or it's saying something against Muslims. But no one is defending the rights of a virus. So if a virus is the enemy, everybody can be afraid of that without fear of being accused of being xenophobic. The cable place is still open if people want to buy an iPhone or do something with their Spectrum online service. They don't mind. You can go in there. It was very weird to me when President Trump gave his press conference. He kind of chuckled when he said that the restaurant business isn't doing so well. Why would he do that? If I owned a restaurant, I'd be very disappointed. I'm actually already disappointed that he said that, but I'd be personally offended, because it seems like they could have kept the restaurants open and allowed them to do various things that could have, even if it allowed them to operate at 50% of their capacity, to what extent would that have kept some people at their jobs? Other people are telling me that I shouldn't even be out here, that I'm risking other people's safety, that I could be spreading the virus to people who, even if I'm healthy and not going to get sick, I could spread it to other people who might. But it's strange. Look, I'm not a doctor. I definitely want to speak to more doctors about this, but if this virus is so easily spread and so contagious, why is it so difficult to detect And test 4, we found out that this PCR test, which is the test for the coronavirus, you have to stick 2 Q-tips deep inside your nose, deep back to your throat. First one to clear out everything in your nose, and then another one to detect the stuff back there. So look at that, James Comey can't even buy Legos, the place is closed. But anyway, you gotta jam this thing way back into your throat. Okay? And swab the back of the throat, and then test that. So, how do they know that people can be contagious even if they don't have symptoms? Like, symptoms might be sneezing, coughing. We can understand how that's contagious. You cough at someone and spit and things get on them, and if a little bit gets in their mouth, whatever was in your mouth is now in their mouth, and they get it. Or if you wipe your nose and touch a door handle and somebody else touches it, it's working this way, guy. Everybody wants to be on the camera. But I mean, we can see how certain things would be spread. But what I'm having a tough time understanding, if nothing is coming out of my body, and it's so difficult to detect that you have to jam a long Q-tip down my throat through my nose, how is it so easily spread? And also these PCR tests, how do we know that they're accurate? There's an article by John Rappaport which claims that the test has never adequately been verified by...
Now April 20th is your birthday.
They've never been adequately, verified by doing a double-blind test. Where virus samples are taken from people who are sick and then tested by the test and then see, does the test say yes, they're sick or no, they're not? It's a pretty detailed article by John Rappaport. I'm not doing it justice in my explanation right now, but it made a lot of sense. I mean, again, that being said, sometimes things in medicine or law or engineering, they don't necessarily follow what a layperson would consider logic, because these are complicated things and there's a lot about it that us lay people don't understand. But John Rappaport poses these questions and nobody gives him a good answer. I mean, there's a way to explain how this stuff works and why it works that way and why it's contagious. I just found it really weird. I forget the name of the female doctor who was presenting with President Trump, not Dr. Fauci. The woman said, there's so much about the virus that we don't know, but what we know is it's contagious even if you don't have symptoms. So, that might be, I'd like a doctor or somebody who knows to explain that to me. Hey, have you guys responded to any emergencies related to coronavirus?
No.
Any patients? You seen any? No. Well, the cops, I guess people don't call the cops when they're sick, but I'm gonna ask every ambulance driver, every cop that we see, if they've seen anybody, not because I'm trying to challenge this, maybe that's why, but because where are the patients? How do we know that these tests are accurate? How do we upend the economy? This was just a manual destruction of the economy on the basis of something that, how do we know if it's true? I'm very curious about that. If I owned a restaurant and it was forced to close by the government, sorry about that. If I owned a restaurant that was forced to close by the government, I'd be very upset right now. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna head downtown here. And see what's going on. City Hall area. I wonder how the subway is gonna be. people an opportunity if they haven't been on the subway before.
Hello, everyone. Keep yourself and your neighbors out, washing your hands often. Use soap and water and wash for at least 20 seconds. Or use hand sanitizer. Please cover your nose and mouth with your elbow when you cough or sneeze. And let's work together to keep New York healthy.
All right, so this segment could be boring. We don't know how long it's going to take. It says there's a train coming in 1 minute. So we'll see if that's true. So here's a subway stop, totally, well, there's some people here who aren't concerned or otherwise have important things to do. Anyway, it just seemed really weird to me that they say there's so much about the virus that we don't know, but what we do know is that you're contagious even if you don't show symptoms. Well, so how do they know that if they're not testing people who don't show symptoms? I mean, certainly I don't want Q-tips jammed down my throat, through my nose if I'm not extremely sick, so I'm going to avoid that if I don't have symptoms. I'm curious, how many people without symptoms who have been spreading it have they actually tested? Do we know? So how do they arrive at these scientific conclusions? See what people think on the subway. They're probably not going to really want to talk to me, so I'll try to do my best to keep to myself. So you're not technically supposed to do this, but that's okay. So people kind of getting a feel for how full or empty the subway is. Are you guys worried about getting coronavirus? Good. I mean, it's, I guess, a stupid question to somebody who's riding the subway today. So that's Union Square. I can't get out that way, so this is where I'll be staying.
Taxis holding here in the station will be moving shortly. Thank you for your patience. Approximately 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, so we've got this situation where, you know, they've declared that you're contagious even if you don't show symptoms. So therefore, everyone is a possible host, a possible contaminator. You've got to stay home under lockdown, or you could be putting vulnerable members of the population at risk, and you're a terrible person. So everybody stay home and participate in the destruction of the economy. As we can see, I mean, it's Tuesday afternoon. I'm not going to say this train would normally be full at this time, but 5 riders on a car is pretty low occupancy. Are you worried about getting coronavirus? Are you worried about getting coronavirus? Where are you from?
Some Dominican Republic.
Where are you from? Dominican Republic?
Supplements for the coronavirus.
Not worried. Have a nice time. So there we go. It's interesting to see how different people are reacting to this. I still don't understand, and that's not to say that it can't be possible, but I don't understand how, without symptoms, you're transmitting this thing. And we also haven't had a good answer as far as how many false positives does this PVR or CVR, whatever that test is called, how accurate is it? I mean, we heard Governor Cuomo saying that he wants the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, to get out of the way. Now, I'm not going to say that I trust the FDA. We know they've done a lot of sketchy things in the past. People should look into what the FDA did when Searle Pharmaceuticals was headed by Donald Rumsfeld. When Rumsfeld was the CEO of Searle Pharmaceuticals, they discovered aspartame, this excessively sweet byproduct of some chemical experiment. What's the stop? Astor Place. They discovered aspartame, and they figured, hey, this could be an artificial sweetener. Only problem is it was giving brain tumors to laboratory test animals. So what they did was they surgically excised the tumors and presented these test animals as cancer-free to the FDA, and aspartame got approved as a food additive. After studies showed that it was like the most toxic and dangerous food additive in the history of food additives, they totally changed the process by which the FDA approves things like that. However, it could not be retroactively applied to aspartame. So if you're drinking a Diet Coke right now, or anything with aspartame in it, you should ask yourself how those holes in your brain feel. Free to drink it if you like, but I just think that if people educate themselves about some of these things, and they understand how these corporations just want your money and they don't care if they're damaging your health. In fact, you start to look at who's on the boards of directors and who are shareholders in these various companies. There's a lot of situations where they're making money coming and going. So you're getting sick from using the product, and then you're using their pharmaceutical products to remedy the sickness. Oh, this came up yesterday. Ole said something about how in Spain they're under lockdown, but you're still allowed to go to the tobacco store. And somebody mentioned something about smoking outside, which somebody was trying to ban that or something, and I told them I agreed with that. I want to clarify that statement. I'm talking about outside like in New York City. If you're walking in the woods in Spain or some rural area, wherever you are, I don't think anybody cares if you light a cigarette. The issue is there are so many people who think it is their God-given right to smoke cigarettes on the subway platform, on the train, in the streets, wherever they want, and that's just simply wrong. People were up in arms. One viewer even accused me of being a Nazi, cigarette Nazi. I did not appreciate that. It's generally a pretty poor choice to equate something that another person, particularly of Jewish descent, says or does to that of a Nazi, unless it's actually killing people or doing something Nazi-esque. And just telling people that you think that the general public does have a right to unpolluted air, and that you feel that that's superseding other people's rights to kill themselves with cigarettes, that's not Nazi-esque. And the other thing I would say is, I don't understand how someone can be on the right side of everything that we talk about and still support cigarettes. That is the number one example of a corporate mind control product. And if you're a smoker, think about this. If you're a smoker who's watching YouTube videos about chemtrails and 5G, and you're worried that these things are going to give you cancer, just turn off YouTube and just go suck down a bunch of cigarettes, because those are clinically proven to give you cancer. And I mean, end of discussion. I don't get it. My issue is, if you want to smoke cigarettes, it should be legal. It should be legal to buy, legal to sell, legal to use in the privacy of your own home, or in a club for people that have determined that that's what they want to do. You can't walk down the street drinking booze in New York City. You shouldn't be able to walk down the street smoking a cigarette. Have a cigarette bar, have a lounge at your house, smoke out your own car, but let everybody else live in peace and not smoke those cigarettes. But also seriously, if you are someone who questions the government, who questions corporations, who are trying to install 5G next to schools, think about what that cigarette is doing to you, to the children around you, to the people around you. You are infringing on their right to have clean air. And it's weird that somebody would care about what they're spraying in the sky way up above, but not care what they're spraying out right into somebody's face right in front of them. So it's a very hypocritical stance. And I mean, if somebody wants to get into the comments and call me a Nazi and make obnoxious comments, you run the risk of getting blocked. So I am vamping a little bit here while we're on the subway. People are going to notice for the subway car, I'm on the 6th train right now, heading downtown in Manhattan, early afternoon, mid-afternoon. I've never seen an empty subway car like this before. Maybe 4 a.m. or something like that, college days when I was, out all hours. But even then, there'd be some homeless person occupying this space, other college people, somebody that's got no place to go. Very unusual, and I think people saw as I was walking up and down these train cars here, it's not just this car, it's this entire subway train is basically empty. Yeah, I mean, let's head back here a little ways. Oh, we're stopped. This is something you don't often get to see. Filthy, disgusting. There's graffiti down here. I definitely do not recommend that you exit the subway train in between cars and go out onto the platform. That's extremely dangerous. But here we can see, again, there's one guy down there in this subway car. Let's see if he wants to talk. How's it going? So, are you worried about getting coronavirus?
Yeah, I am.
I'll stay over here. You mind if I?
No, I don't mind at all.
So, but you're going to work. You say you're worried.
Actually, if you look at these two bags, these are my. This is one of my employees who lives near me, and my stuff, phone, papers.
To work from home.
So we can talk. Like I was doing it gradually. I was telling people to come in a little here and there. And now I'm.
So you own the business.
It's my business.
What's the nature of the business?
It's probably one of the worst businesses in the end besides work on a cruise ship. It's an event planning.
Event planning.
Event planning, professional development.
So how many months of no business can you survive before
I'm assessing. I'm going to say 6.
You can survive for 6 months. That's a strong business you have.
Well, I have. So you get the emotion.
Sorry.
I have. It's okay.
I know how you feel.
You need to feel the emotion. I have really good customers, and they're willing to work with us. Like a lot of the events were already in progress, spring events. It's in June. Obviously, they're all canceled. They're willing to pay us and fund us. Get it? We've had. Well, I've been working on it for 20 years. I've been running for 20 years, working there for 30. And my customers understand the situation, and they're willing to fund us through this cycle.
That's a very strong business.
If it doesn't get better, I'm out of business. I'm out of a small business, 15 employees, and I told them all that. I'm being very honest.
Wow. And we heard the president say that this could go on until August.
Yeah,
Can you survive until August?
That's about my limit.
Wow.
And then we'll have to see where it goes from there.
Good luck. All right, so we're down here. Sorry?
Is that for your own use? Or
That's going to be on YouTube. Crowdsource the truth. Check it out. Thanks. Good luck. Yeah, I mean, that guy's got a business that can survive for up to 6 months. He's got customers that are willing to ride this out with him. That guy's got some very good customers and a very strong business. I don't know that that's going to be the way that most businesses can work. I know certainly people aren't going to walk into restaurants that they go to and pay for food that they're not eating or something like that. But, okay, so now we've got to do a little bit of walking around because I'm not exactly sure. I've never been to this hospital before, but we'll find it. nice day. How's the traffic been down here today? How's the traffic been down here today? Yeah? Okay. I don't think he's that engaged. So, okay. This is the Brooklyn Bridge, right over here. This guy'll probably know. Hey, sorry to bother you again. How do I get to Presbyterian Hospital from over here?
Well, you can go in two ways. You can go one police plaza, and you're gonna make a right, and you go like on the ramp, and you get into this area.
Over here? All right, thanks. Down over here. All right, we'll find it. So this is the place they took Dead Ep to. This guy doesn't seem... You're not afraid of coronavirus, right? Cigarettes kill it? So they were... So let's see, Presbyterian Hospital. It's right around here somewhere. This is like the courthouse, pretty near, like, I think the MCC is right over here around the corner where Dead Ep was hanging out. Let's talk around the country of releasing prisoners from, see, I'm getting a little turned around. Do you know how to get to Presbyterian Hospital from here? Thanks. Most people in New York are polite. The people that are rude are probably not from here. The problem is I can't get the map going because my hands are filled with cell phones. Battery just came unplugged. Let's just plug that back in. I think maybe that's it right over there. This guy said Police Plaza. Do you know if that's Presbyterian Hospital over there? Excuse me. Yep. Do you know if that's Presbyterian Hospital over there?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks. So it looks like it might be a little bit of a walk. Huh, so here we see the cops wearing blue plastic gloves. I don't know if that's standard procedure. Am I able to get to Presbyterian Hospital through here? That ramp? Can I access Presbyterian Hospital by that ramp?
Yeah, you go down that way. Go down that way. Once you get to the corner, you're gonna go straight down. It's actually by Pace University. You see that building?
Yeah.
Just keep walking towards it.
Okay.
Right?
You seen any coronavirus-related activity? Or no.
Just that.
See, it's interesting. Emergency service workers around New York City, you would think an event that would impact the economy and the business of the whole entire city like this would result in the average police officer, the average ambulance driver having seen some activity related to people with the coronavirus. I like how Trump says the coronavirus. He's very careful in his pronunciation of it. But I don't know. We're going to go over to Presbyterian Hospital and just see if they're overrun with coronavirus patients. I suspect they're not. I think I'm going the right way here. I haven't been exactly to this spot before, but that's part of the fun of New York City. Go all over the place and sometimes wind up in a spot you've never seen before. So, yeah, what else do we want to talk about? Okay, so I was saying earlier, I think that this is kind of a perfect thing in many ways, because something I've observed is that people who are normally not prone to believe the first thing they're told, particularly if there's a litany of problematic conflicts in the evidence and the conclusions, even those people are concerned because their thought process is they don't want to take a chance. I've noticed that friends of mine that have kids are most susceptible to this because obviously I don't have kids, I can't put myself in their head, but from what I've been told and what I've observed, people obviously have a sense of love for their children that in many cases exceeds even their love for themselves. Excuse me, officer. How can I get to Presbyterian Hospital?
You go right straight up down.
Straight up that way?
Right, straight here on the right hand side.
Have there been a lot of ambulances coming through with coronavirus victims?
I actually am not at liberty to say that information.
So maybe we'll get a chance to speak to some hospital employees. This guy's got